Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor A. Horner and I am Solution Architect for several Microsoft technologies. Please like this video if you liked it and subscribe my channel to stay up to date. Thank you very much and enjoy this video. In one of my previous videos, I have deployed this enterprise environment. 2 domain forests and 1 M365 tenant. I have connected both forests and M365 tenant by using an ADFS server and 1 Azure Active Directory sync connector. I have successfully migrated all Exchange on-prem objects to the cloud. Now we are going to prepare our resource forest for decommission. First, we need to migrate all resource forest objects and their properties to our user forest. Then, we need to stop Exchange hybrid configuration and change AAD sync configuration. In the last step, we need to disable AD Trust and switch off Resource Forest environment. In this video, I am going to demonstrate how to enable Exchange Management Shell without any Exchange server, how to migrate user objects from Resource Forest, how to migrate group objects from Resource Forest, how to configure AAD sync after the migration, how to disable hybrid exchange, how to disable Resource Forest. In my previous video, Exchange Resource Forest Implementation Guide, I have demonstrated how to create user objects in the user forest and then enable resource objects in the resource forest. At the end, we have active user object, which is used for login in our main user forest, and a secondary objects in the resource forest. These two objects are correlated via a D object attribute MSDS consistency guide to a linked object. This attribute is also primary source anchor for the cloud object. Azure AD Sync connector is generating the immutable ID out of MSDS consistency guide so that on-prem AD object can be correlated with the cloud object. All objects in our resource forest, like distribution groups, rooms, shared mailboxes, and equipment, are synchronized directly from the resource forest to the cloud. We assume that all objects from both forests are already synchronized to the cloud. So, what will happen if we simply deactivate Resource Forest and stop synchronization? After Azure Active Directory connector has no connection to Resource Forest, all Cloud Objects validation status will switch to an error state. From this moment, all Azure Active Directory objects will become unchangeable. Any kind of Cloud Object change will be impossible until you will hard match Cloud Object to an on-premise object. Finally, all users will get several problems with authentication and access to all resources, and your environment will collapse. To avoid this scenario, we are going to migrate all Resource Forest objects to our user forest and transfer all MSDS consistency guides from Resource Forest to user forest. We need also to transfer all required Exchange attributes to our user forest to avoid any kind of communication errors. Before we can migrate all objects, we need to prepare our user forest for migration. We are going to extend AD schema with the current Exchange version and install Exchange Management Shell to be able to manage all synchronized Exchange objects. Installation of Exchange Management Shell. Without any Exchange server is possible since Exchange 2019 CU12. This is a great upgrade for any hybrid environment. You don't need to have any Microsoft Exchange servers in your data center. You can also simply install Management Console on any server and manage Exchange objects in your Active Directory forest. Exchange Management Shell is a simple Exchange organization installation without any Exchange roles. So I am starting with installing required prerequisites for a standard Exchange server installation. First, I am installing all required server roles. Then I am installing all required software components, and then I am starting Exchange Installation Wizard. At the beginning of installation, you need to select Exchange Management Console without any roles. After several minutes or hours, depends on your infrastructure, the wizard is completed and Exchange Management Shell is installed. If you try to start Exchange Management Shell right after the installation, you will face an error that you have no Exchange servers in your organization. Indeed, we have no Exchange server, so we need to configure additional steps to enable Exchange-less Management Console. Open your Windows Explorer and navigate to following location. C. Windows Edge Program Files, Microsoft Exchange. Server YARV15 end scripts. Run add permission for EMT as domain administrator to enable Exchange-less Management Console in your domain. This script is creating several group and objects and adding permissions in your Exchange organization so that you can manage it without any Exchange server. After the script has finished, open Active Directory users and computer. Navigate to Microsoft Exchange Security Group's OU in your forest and search for Recipient Management Group. Add your administrators as members of this group. Navigate to Standard Users OU in your forest and add your administrators as a part of Recipient Management EMT. All permissions are configured now. Create now a new link to Exchange Management Shell only. After following location into the link, C. Windows JOT System 32 says Windows PowerShell Shavi 1.0a PowerShell. XE, no exit, command add PSS Napin, recipient management. Save the link and start Exchange-less Management Shell. Now you can enable remote mailboxes and create distribution groups without any Exchange server. Resource Forest Object Migration to User Forest is a simple forest to forest migration. There are several tools on the market which you can use for this purpose. I wrote this script as a solution. Copy the script from my GitHub repository, paste it into your PowerShell window on your Exchangeless Management Shell, and edit the configuration part according to your environment requirements. First, you need to import all source user objects by using import source user AD objects command. This command is importing all user, shared, resource, equipment objects into your user forest. In the second step, use import source group AD objects to import all groups. This command is importing all mail-enabled and distribution groups to your user forest. This script is migrating all objects with the source forest MSDS consistency guide to your target forest. After we have migrated resource forest objects to user forest, we need to change Azure AD connector. Azure AD connector is located in my user forest, directly on DC1. It is synchronizing users forest and resource forest. Azure AD connector configuration does not allow to remove a forest from synchronization, so we need to use different Azure AD sync connector and connect it only to our users forest. Go to Azure AD Sync Server and open Azure AD Connect Wizard. Click on Configure and select Configure Staging Mode. Log into your tenant as Global Administrator. Select Enable Staging Mode. Staging mode will disable the outbound syncing of your objects and will only read cloud objects. At the end, this step stops object synchronization. After staging mode has been enabled successful, we need to enable AD Sync without our resource forest. So I have simply installed a second Azure AD Sync server without my resource forest and switched the Azure AD connector in staged mode. Now we simply need to disable staged mode on my new Azure AD Sync server and hope that all objects will be matched to each other. Before we will disable the staged mode, we need to remove Exchange Hybrid configuration to avoid that any Exchange resource objects will be created or updated. Go to your Exchange server, which is hosting Exchange Hybrid configuration. Open Exchange Management Console. First, disable Auto Discover by using Set Client Access Service command. Second, remove hybrid configuration by running Remove Hybrid Configuration command. Third, disable intra-org connector by running Set Intra-Organization Connector. If you don't know the name of the connector, simply run Get Intra-Organization Connector and copy the right name. Connect to Exchange Online and disable intra-org connector also there. Same procedure as in Exchange On-Prem. At the end, we need to remove outbound and inbound connectors for hybrid mail flow. You can do it via PowerShell or simply in Exchange Online Admin Center. Before we switch AAD Sync to our new server without resource forest, make sure that all your AD objects have a routable unique UPN. Go to your second Azure AD Sync server, and open Azure AD Configuration Wizard. Click on Configure and deselect Enable Staging Mode. Now, start AAD synchronization and hope that all objects can be matched well. You can use Azure AD Connect for AD Sync monitoring. If you have any errors, you can troubleshoot them by using the error information provided on each failed object. After several minutes, we can see that some objects are not synced anymore. Their objects were not migrated to the user forest and became cloud only. As long as you still have two-way AD trust, you can validate which objects are still in resource forest and migrate them afterwards. In my case, I have migrated all objects and simply delete some objects during my researches on resource forest. So all my cloud objects are simply not persisting anymore on-prem. After we have validated that everything is working fine, we can start to remove resource forest. We are going to remove the Federation Trust and remove the resource forest environment. Go to Domain Controller of your resource forest and open Domains and Trusts. Right-click on your forest and open Properties. Select Outgoing Trust to your user forest and click on Remove. Confirm that you really want to remove the trust. Select Incoming Trust of your user forest and click on Remove. Confirm that you really want to remove the trust. Open DNS Management on the same domain controller. Extend Conditional Forwarders Hive and select your user forest. Right mouse click on it and delete. Confirm that you want to delete conditional forwarders. Go to Domain Controller of your user forest and open Domains and Trusts. Right-click on your forest and open Properties. Select Outgoing Trust to your resource forest and click on Remove. Confirm that you really want to remove the trust. Select Incoming Trust of your resource forest and click on Remove. Confirm that you really want to remove the trust. Open DNS Management on the same domain controller. Extend Conditional Forwarders Hive and select your resource forest. Right mouse click on it and delete. Confirm that you want to delete conditional forwarders. After domain trust and conditional forwarders has been removed, you can safely remove the whole resource forest infrastructure. I will go one step further and remove the whole on-prem environment and go cloud only. Before this step, make sure that your password hash synchronization is enabled so that all passwords are synchronized to M365. I have configured this option from the beginning to allow my users to reset their password on their own. Now connect to M365 by using Connect MSOL Service command. After you are connected to M365 environment with Global Administrator account, you can disable directory synchronization and turn all objects to cloud only. Run set MSOL dir sync enabled command and set the property enable dir sync to false. Now your tenant will start to transform all objects to cloud only objects. This process may take up to 2 days regarding Microsoft documentation. In my case, it took only several minutes. Now you can see that all my objects are not synchronized with a local AD. All my objects from two forests are now transformed to cloud-only objects, and I can safely remove the whole on-prem environment and save my money on local infrastructure. I will now delete all my virtual machines and go cloud-only. Thank you very much for watching this video. Visit my blog and don't forget to like this video and subscribe my channel.